So here we are today having a look at the lovely woodland called Central Park near Plymouth. And of course it is a fact which is very encouraging that you don't have to actually go into the countryside, even that far outside the city, to find woodlands. And urban woodlands are very important, not only from a ecology factor, but for the mental well-being of so many people. And just looking here, looking across the cityscape. You can see here this is distinctly Plymouth. You can see some good landmarks there. We can look out towards Plymouth Sound there, and that's Mount Edgecombe Park over in Cornwall in the far distance. And we can get an indication of what time of year it is, even simply by seeing that beautiful blossom, cherry blossom from the trees there just in the foreground here. Okay, it's a lovely spring day. It's the first week in April. We're going to wander out across here and we're going to have a nice look at the lovely Central Park woodland, which is, to coin a phrase, a stone's throw from the city, really. Okay, so I'll just be having a pause here and then reconnecting when we get into the woodland proper. Just in the background there we can see a squirrel which is up amongst the branches. We have the ivy and the holly, which of course is the winter evergreen. We have quite a bit of this like weather weirding, don't we? And where I was expecting in February to see a lot more of this beautiful blackthorn blossom, which as we know comes out before the leaves, whereby with the hawthorn, the May blossom with the leaves coming first. This is something which is coming later this year, it seems anyway, certainly in in this region down in the southwest it seems to be. But oops, coming through we can see a good development of bluebell leaves. I would say probably looks more like the Spanish bluebell, but we do get some there's some celandines poking their heads from amongst the greenery, which is lovely, and a bit of hogwort there which is starting to develop, and the beautiful sound of it sounds like the robin up in the woodland canopy. We have the spring showing of the lords and ladies here. They're looking very beautiful. A nice display of lichen here on the branches of the blackthorn. In the background, nice to see that poking its head up, the gorse with the beautiful yellow flowers there, and look at the lichen there on the branches. It's really very distinctive, isn't it? Indicator of good air quality, so it's encouraging. Yes, natural trodden paths are good, but where we need more access for the young and the old, particularly the infirm, it's good that people who can't just get around can be able to come along tracks such as this, going through wooded areas. Here the buddleia, that invasive species which gives that beautiful purpley flower, which is very good for butterflies. You can see here is just really taking over. We're just walking through here, it's just so lovely and peaceful. More blackthorn on the right, blackbird there singing, and some magpie there on the ground, and as any of you will have joined me in previous years will notice how much tamer the birds are. Magpie's not too particularly fussed. Particularly is noticeable is the jay, which doesn't give out its normal alarm call when it sees humans, because it's not afraid. It doesn't perceive us as a threat generally, even to dogs going by. So here we have a small coppice which has been planted out a number of years ago by the council. Some young birch and willow, hazel, oak, lots of sycamore here. And even in the winter time, remember when we came around here, you may not, but it was certainly still very beautiful with the bark of the different trees and the ivy and the holly and overwintering bramble. And here we have the stinger nettles making good use of the sunlight. And here we have probably a bumblebee that certainly was there a moment ago, came out of hibernation. And here, just even looking here, these are the young leaves of the campion. The campion plant there in front of us, and one that's come into flower already. Maybe that bee has gone into its little hole. Yes, where they making a little colony. It seems to have disappeared, that bumblebee that was there. Oh, no, there we are. Okay, it's been doing a bit of visiting. Some of the flowers, there's some nice little celandines there. You can see the roosting sites as well, must be up above. And you see the feces of the birds there. There are the young leaves of the alder, which gives the lovely alder flowers who make cordial, and then lovely distinctive blackberries later on. Very still and quiet here. Hopefully you can hear the bird sound. As an agriculturalist and an amateur naturalist, I would even say that this is quieter than sometimes what we get in the countryside with the very noisy machines we can have harvesting or working on the land. Very, very dry. It's just nice at the moment for being able to just go on some of the smaller tracks around. Sad looking polypody there, but no, sorry, not polypody, is it tongue fern? But, lovely example of sewer birch there. Look at that beautiful bark. Some crows. Actually, I say that, I think they're rooks actually. As it says, if you see more than 2 crows, they're probably rooks. But it's not always distinctly that much the case. Now here we have some lovely hawthorn, and you can see here the development of the flowering structures. I think they're going to be early again this year, so although it's called May Blossom, you can nearly guarantee these will be out in a few weeks' time. And some on this dead and dying timber, or dead timber should I say. This is some nice bracket fungi. Very important. Yes, you can see very distinctly there the flowering structure developing of what will be the May Blossom. And then in the background can you see the flowering structure of the lords and ladies there. And oh my gosh, that is very, very, very surprising to see. Quite a surprise in the first week of April to be seeing these bluebells out. I'm sure they must be Spanish bluebells. But, so you can see here, trees here on the left-hand side going through the tracks are very distinctly sort of older, 50, 60 years old, some of these and the rest. And here probably this young coppice area of trees that are 10, 15 years old. But but we'll come into a lovely area of mature woodland. We've got some maple here, or not maple, looks like some cherry. These would probably literally have come from the cherry stones from some of the ones that were planted. They do spread very easily, don't they, as do the ash as well, and sycamore can grow like weeds. Yes, these are these young ones that have come from this purposely planted cherry tree. And that cherry blossom has been and gone, but obviously in the past it must have fruited. And here we got a young oak tree looking very strong and healthy. I think it looks like it possibly has been nipped in the top by, can't think it'll be a grazing animal, funny enough, but maybe not. No, that might be growing up to be a proper tree, but sometimes they often get nipped at the top and then you end up with more of a bush. Okay, here's a distinctive look of an apple tree. So we've got some apple blossom that will be obviously exploding there soon. That's beautiful to see. It's nice to see the presence of these old hedgerows that probably date back to when the land was actually agricultural land before it was gifted or taken over by the local council many hundreds of years ago. There's a pennywort there growing in the hedge. Bramble here, and young hogworts coming up, and stinging nettles. And I looked at this before with you. I'd done a fair bit of work with rabbits in the past, and this looks more like the runs of rats rather than rabbits. And rats are a normal part of the ecosystem. They're not a problem here at all. But and the bramble really dominating along there. Doesn't take much for that to start showing itself. A lot of activity of birds going over, magpies and crows. Here in front of us, we're a lovely young ash tree. There's the very distinctive black buds that show us it's the ash. And here we can see, looks to me like a oak. Not too sure, maybe. Bark looks oakish. And don't look quite right for oak, the buds, but yes, unfortunately you're always going to get a certain amount of damage done by mammals and birds. This is the work of the squirrel, and doesn't seem to be too bad damage generally in this woodland area, so it's just goes with the territory really. You're going to get some animals that are going to do damage, but nothing significant. Well, there's one of the early flowers, the showing of the leaves of the sycamore. Of course these will become so much larger, just keep expanding, become the size of a large hand and bigger again. It's amazing how they grow. There's a lovely ones all around here. Just also beech, looks like a beech there. Beech, that's going to be flowering much later on. And if any of you who've walked with me here before on the videos will know, one of my favourite areas, some lovely old deciduous trees, particularly oak trees, which excuse me, dominate this area. I would have walked along here as a boy. Even my mother possibly would. Not as a boy, of course, but as my mum. But and here, look at that beautiful branches coming out there from a lovely distorted oak tree, as in probably has had its top nipped off in the past and gone more into a sort of branch version. But look at the beauty though of those branches. It's absolutely glorious. And as we will probably know, that's one of the trees that has the most abundance of mini beasts, so vertebrates, invertebrates, all living on, under, microscopic as well, on the actual tree itself. It's beautiful. Little robin there having a little territorial dispute with somebody. Maybe he's finding me a threat. Don't know. So nice that people are able to make use of these areas and that they persist and are not just simply put over to recreation, as in, you know, being used to make something where people play games or whatever. It's something just to be here, just to be in existence. And these are well trodden, off the beaten track, kind of, but there's still a beaten track, as you can see here. But then going back onto the tarmac area, just literally popping down here. Hear people's voices, people enjoying it. Just emerging from the woodland here, you could easily be in a country park or in one of these landed gentry estates where you have all these beautiful big trees with cattle or sheep grazing on the pasture. It's good that the management policies of the councils are so much improved these days, with leaving areas to grow, not wild necessarily, but not cutting certainly the grass and allowing the wildflowers to be able to thrive and not be destroyed by regular cutting for the sake of the look of the ground. And even sometimes when necessary, the regular cutting and removal of bracken in particular that can be very invasive. This is something that probably is happening here, because the bracken can certainly take over an area. Oh, some squirrels. Oh, the magpies are not happy to have the squirrels in their area, so they're probably making repairs to their very distinctive nest, which sometimes can be seen when the leaves are off the trees of the they put like a dome over the top, which certainly would be that to stop birds from being able to see, certainly birds of prey and crows that might decide to come in and to take the eggs or the young nestlings or fledglings, even if they start coming out, venturing out. But what is very interesting is the fact that these are the very birds that will be love to go in and get other birds' eggs. Not too sure if the magpie takes the nestlings, but certainly have a go at some eggs. So maybe they know that they might get it done back onto them. Excuse me. Nice to see some nice, lovely example here of the sort of contradiction in the conifer world. We often think of the conifer, don't we, as being an evergreen, but the larch here, you see a branch, I think that must be a larch tree, because that's a branch coming down, and is one that loses its needles in the winter and then regrows them. So there's some beautiful young, beautiful to the soft to the touch needles, but not at all sharp, and they've got the distinctive cones of the larch. Lots of little lovely little places just to pop through here and just be able to look to see what we've got growing around here. There we've got the distinctive bud, I would say, of a sycamore there. All around here would be generally natural regeneration, but I expect probably 100 years or so back, with the main tree being planted, well, not necessarily nearby. I think about it goes, of course, sort of wind transportation of things, but a good bedrock there. Don't think it's quite Plymouth limestone, but here we've got a lovely display of pennywort there, and some honeysuckle. There we have some honeysuckle. That's a bit of a one for strangling young trees. That's very different from ivy, which can, yes, will compete for nutrients, but doesn't have that sort of strangling effect. Now, if I didn't know better, that looks to me like a young yew tree. Those leaves look very much like a yew tree. It's amazing how that there has been thriving. Probably only I don't know, could be 4 or 5 years old, but it's with restricted growth because of the location it's in. You know, so that's was very unlikely that was ever planted there. It would, you know, if it was planted, it would be planted at that kind of stage of growth, and very unlikely it would have been planted in here. But what a nice to see that. So in many years to come, that could be quite a distinctive tree. Yeah, so these paths haven't been walked so much. I think the dogs probably flick through here and keep some of the track beaten. But here's a lovely little view spot. This will be a nice place to sit with a chair and watch out and do some bird watching and listening. We'll just do that for a few minutes now. That's not an exotic bird, that is a squeegee ball from a dog. Sure, you can hear the distant cooing of the wood pigeon, the ring-necked dove, and there's a lot of activity over there in the trees. That I'm not aware of there being a rookery here, but seeing quite a lot of black birds, as in crow family birds. It's lovely actually. I can just feel the soft, gentle rain coming down. We're going to have a lovely display of bluebells, albeit they Spanish ones, here in the days and weeks to come. And there's going to be a nice development of this oak tree. The leaves are far from coming out yet, quite a few months away. Oh, I think, as I said before, I'm not a great one for my bird sound. Some of you will perhaps know what some of these sounds. I can pick up the magpies and the jays and the crows and the blackbirds and the robins, but some of the more secretive, probably less seen birds, I'm not so well. I recognise the finches and all that, but I wouldn't necessarily know all their sounds. But I think they're actually carrion crows, so it's probably they got competition over mating, so that's why there's more than 2 or 3 at times. With the crow, they very much nest solitarily. The crow's nest would be in itself in a tree, not in a rookery, or not in a large group, should I say. That's not a whistling bird, that's someone cycling going by, but it's very yes, it's a very beautiful location here. Many people enjoy it, be it running, walking, cycling. Okay, going to come out of the woodland now. So we end this woodland walk in the city setting with the lovely tree, which is probably 150 years plus if it's a date. So to think that was a mature tree when between the wars, And when I think this year, this time, T.S. Eliot wrote that famous Wasteland poem, to think that was still a mature tree then. And may it last for many years to come. So that's goodbye from beautiful Plymouth, Central Park, Woodland.